Get in, buckle up, and come for a ride with the HoonTV. Cars, bikes, and anything else with an engine in it. Let's go.
I don't know. I don't know how many I've owned. I've owned a fair few.
What?
Over the years.
What? Shavers?
Yeah, no. And they've taken all different shapes and sizes. Reliable, unreliable, pretty, ugly. Good from 10 feet away, good from 2 feet away, good at night.
All right, let's just get this rolling.
It is rolling already.
It is rolling.
It is rolling. Well, we should probably welcome everybody. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the HoonTV. Welcome, Mark. How's your week been, bud?
Well, we're only day 2 of the week, but it's been a pretty busy year so far. It's February already. I mean, these years seem to be ticking away quicker and quicker the older you get, but as long as you're having fun while you're going.
Seasoned campaigner, I think, is the title.
Well, let's start with you, Jason. What have you been up to?
I've been a busy boy. I've been doing all sorts of stuff. A brand new YouTube show, O2 Garage, with my son, Thomas. 13 years old, 11-year-old Ruby Grace, my daughter, in the wings waiting to go. And Spark plugged the security dog, biting me at every opportunity. But that's what happens with a fox terrier. You know, they chew you non-stop. So that's been going on. I've been auctioning as a real estate agent. I've been doing those flat out. That's been keeping me busy. Yeah, just a good start to the year. I think 2019 has been a welcome for people from 2018. And I know even for you, this has been a fresh start.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm, as far as your stuff goes, O2 Garage, I'm really enjoying seeing that come about because, I mean, it's a real cool father and son type thing. It's like you teaching your son. I mean, you're a mechanic by trade. I'm a mechanic by trade. You teaching your son a bit about cars. He's out there. He's not playing Fortnite like every other kid around.
Yeah,
but he's showing some real enthusiasm about the car and making this thing from something that's a pile of junk into something that's a good car that you'll probably sell. So
he'll never be a mechanic, right? He's got far too many brains for that. He'll move on. But I stopped being a mechanic because I worked out whilst I'm working on the tools that I started hating cars. I started hating what I was doing, and I loved cars so much that I had to get away from cars to be able to enjoy it, and I'm having a ball. And you're similar.
I know what you mean too. I mean, it becomes less of a passion and more of a job because I went into being a mechanic. I wanted to be a mechanical engineer, and somehow I'm like, oh no, I like cars. Got a job as a mechanic. Ended up working through a bunch of different jobs, and then I was just like, wow, I'm just sort of. You hear a beeping sound?
Yeah, that's the alarm, that's the ideas going off in my brain.
Oh yeah, typical. Yeah, so anyway, I went through a bunch of jobs. I worked for a place that does dyno tuning and stuff like that. So I learned a lot there after my apprenticeship because I did my apprenticeship at a Ford dealer. I think you did yours at a Mazda dealer?
Mate, yeah, I did it at a Mazda dealer. I did it at Kmart Tire and Auto.
Yeah.
Which, before you laugh, at Kmart Tire and Auto, the coolest thing was, had the best looking women working next door in Kmart, which was awesome. We got to work on a range of cars, and my lead mechanic, who was at Kmart Tire and Auto so many decades, is still my best mate today.
Yeah, that's cool.
And it's awesome. Yeah. And one day I'll tell you what our code for a Cooper S was code for, but I won't tell you here, all right? But that was the code.
But I mean, that's the thing, like, getting back to all this, it was, for me, leaving working full-time as a mechanic meant that my passion for cars came back because I could just work on my own stuff and then do a bit of stuff with my mates and other people, but it wasn't a day in, day out thing, and I could sort of go off and do that. I mean, a lot of people do get a kick out of being a full-time mechanic and seeing that end result and getting people happy with the car because it's running a million times better than it was, and they get a buzz out of that. But would a guy who was a chippy or a cabinet maker, would they leave that job professionally just so they can enjoy doing it on the side? Probably not. Cars are one of those things that you're either employed in the industry or realistically you're an enthusiast. And if you're an enthusiast, yes, you can be in the industry, but it wanes on you. Everybody I've ever spoken to, they said it got to the point where I was fitting an air conditioning system on a Mazda 121, and then I did another one, and in 1 week I did 12, and I got my $6.50 bonus for that month, but I realised I hated Mazda 121s after that. And so people transition, they go in different directions and stuff like that. And like you talk about enthusiasts, I think everyone out there that's listening to this is an enthusiast or has some sort of passion for cars. And I guess going to a story, I've been working as a cameraman for a while on TV and stuff like that, and worked in news, and how do I put this? So I went to a fire where there was a local workshop that had a fire, and I went with a journo there, and I was explaining along the way just so we could build the story and explain how...
Was this the hot rod?
No, this was actually custom imports at Lonsdale. I was explaining along the way to say what the potential damage of this place could have been, and the damage bill, based on the fact they had a bunch of GTR Skylines in there.
Here we go.
And I said, look...
So all I heard then was ching, ching, ching.
Yeah, so I've said to her, look, these cars are sort of fetching up near $100,000 each, and this journo sort of just snapped straight away, and she's like, oh, I don't know why these idiots waste so much money on cars. And I was like,
As you walk along in your Malone shoes.
Yeah, and I've turned around to her and I said, oh, well, it's because it's their passion. I said, and, you know, coming from somebody who's apparently the owner of a $3,500 handbag, you know...
Did you get hit with a handbag?
No, but I said, so... For your shoes and handbags, this is their shoes and handbags.
Yeah.
People are passionate about cars.
How
That's what they
quickly did she
spend money
become
about
an
them.
aficionado?
And no, she changed her tune straight away and went, oh, yeah, I know, I see what you mean.
Well, on that note, this week's topic is...
Well, we haven't got past the bit where I talk about where I'm doing.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
So we haven't...
I thought custom imports was the segue.
So we've talked about you and what you're doing.
I haven't said anything about it.
I don't really care about it, talking about... I mean, the cool thing about what I've been doing so far this year is it's been mostly car-related, which is cool. I haven't had a hell of a lot of time to do HoonTV stuff.
No, you haven't.
It's been busy. I'm stoked to say that this year was my 20th year going to the Summer Nats, considering it's the Summer Nats 32. I mean, it's funny because I bumped into a guy that everyone knows there, Chubby, and I said to him, and that's his nickname, everyone knows him and loves him, awesome car builder. I said to him, oh man, stoked, it's my 20th year at the Summer Nats. He goes, yeah, it's my 32nd. I'm like, oh. I sort of walked away with my tail between my legs.
Which is code for checkmate at Summer Nats. I got 14. I got 14 years at Summer Nats.
But the amount of people that have been there that many times, but to say I've been there 20 times, and even saying, you know, I was reminiscing yesterday about my old car. I took that to Summer Nats 17 with a good mate of mine, Mark Bakula. We went the grass driving event.
That was the roadie ute, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was heaps of fun. So, and that's 15 years ago.
And just a gratuitous plug for Summer Nats. Doesn't matter how many times you've gone, whether you've gone or whether you've never gone, I can tell you from my experience as a commentator at the Burnouts, it never gets old. It is an amazing event.
I mean, and this year's just sort of ramping up nicely for me. I mean, everyone who knows me loves the fact that knows the fact that I love going to car and bike stuff. It's just what I live and breathe. Hang on a second. Start off with Summer Nats.
You don't have anything else to do, so let's face it. You've got nowhere else to hang out.
But start off with Summer Nats, and then my next gig straight after Summer Nats was the Tour Down Under.
Yeah, but see, I don't mind that. I don't mind the Tour Down Under.
But you know what was funny is I've worked on the Tour Down Under twice now for the crew themselves in the TV production, and whilst as people sook and moan about bicycles on the roads and stuff like that, I go, okay, yeah, there are all the annoying Lance Armstrong wannabes that clog up the roads and stuff like that. But the actual athletes themselves, those guys are just off the planet amazing athletes.
Oh, of course.
And for those of you at home, I mean, because we're doing this as YouTube as well, I'm going to post up a little overlay video or something. Peter Sagan, the world's most famous cyclist right now, totally cool dude.
Yeah.
He has got the coolest Dodge Charger.
Really?
With a big blower hanging out the bonnet.
Yeah, right. Someone's been watching Fast and Furious.
Total rev head.
Outstanding.
I was actually trying to organise a Summer Nats t-shirt to take to Tour Down Under.
Standing.
To give him. So that's cool. So yeah, Tour Down Under. And then from Tour Down Under, had Bathurst 12 Hour last weekend. Awesome event. It was a really good race. So good to see Earl Bamber's team, brand new team, in a Porsche, win it in a Porsche.
Porsche, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it hasn't been won in a Porsche, as far as I know, I'm pretty sure. Chad Nayland would correct me on that if I was wrong. But I'm pretty sure first year in a Porsche, really cool, enthusiastic team. Probably, from my point of view, not the potentially fastest car there, but it won.
Consistent.
But it won, yeah, and that's all about. But I mean, you know, they had the right drivers, well set up car, smart crew. They just did everything right. And
but it's not like Bathurst we know, right? 12 Hour is like 5 Bathursts in one, right? And you know, you talk to anybody from Bathurst. I've never been, but I've talked to people who have raced there, and they said you can be halfway through Bathurst, normal Bathurst or 12 Hour. You keep going no matter what. You fix everything in the car because at any given point in time, The top 10 can all crash out, have problems that set them back. And if you've kept on grinding the laps out, guess what? You're going to win. And it's the old adjective, in order to finish first you've got to finish. And so what I find attractive about Bathurst is, one, it's non-stop. So from a camera point of view, you can't take a break.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing. So, yeah, it's an endurance race for them and for myself and Jason and Dave. So I was one of the 3 pit cameramen for the live broadcast. Dave Lovell, who's been doing it forever, awesome guy. He's a gun. He's been around forever. He's been there, done that, and he knows, he's the mentor amongst us.
Does he have a camera-shaped dip in his shoulder?
I think he does, actually. No, but he's the man. He comes prepared. He knows exactly what to do. So he's a great guy. But between the 3 of us, we rolled into Bathurst at 4:45 in the morning. Okay. That was our call time. I basically thought, I'm just going to acclimatise myself. Long socks. It was a 32-degree day. Long socks and a full race fire suit.
No, well, before you went fire suit, I have this picture of your father, who's a teacher. And I've seen that photo. And his long socks and his sandals and his shorts. And I'm thinking, because you look so much like him, right? Rocking down, and people go, oh, is it nostalgic week at Bathurst? Here comes...
Anyway. Yeah, so basically because it's a race with pit stops with fuel stops,
yes,
we have to wear a fire suit.
Oh, really? How hot was it?
I think it was 32 degrees, but I filmed the guy with a laser pointer on the actual track, and at that point it was 69 point something degrees.
Get out of here.
And it hadn't got the hottest point of the day. So it was warm.
You could have fried an egg.
Lots of bottles of water, but it was cool. Like, you get in there, you get to see the brake dust go flying when the tyres come off, and when cars come in with problems and they get the pit stops. I always like to try and get the car right up the back of the car to get the car doing a burnout as it takes off.
Go back, rewind the tape. When you're a mechanic, that's the funny thing about being a mechanic. A mechanic's apprenticeship can actually take you anywhere. You have now transitioned to the pit lane at Bathurst, watching the brake dust come. You probably never thought that was going to happen when you picked up your second-hand snap-on tool set from the Virginia bloody drive-in movie swap meet, to be then in Bathurst. And the beauty about being a mechanic is it actually takes you anywhere. The industry and the qualification, and here you are, because as a mechanic, what's a brake disc, what's this, and when you've got the camera in your hand, it's not so much the camera experience, it's the mechanical experience, because you know where the heat's coming from, where the fire's coming from, and all that stuff, which is probably what makes you great. And you probably subliminally were relying on those skills as a mechanic to frame what you were doing.
Well, I think with anything like that, if you're passionate about the subject you're filming, you're going to have more passion about looking for particular parts of the story, and that's why I'm sort of just trying to get the shots, but you're always keeping an eye out for what could be potentially happening from a mechanical point of view, because it's important and stuff like that.
You can tell though, when a cameraman knows what he's filming, even the Tour Down Under, when they know what they're filming, it comes out in the imagery, doesn't it?
And I mean, and moving on from that, I mean, like my next thing that I'll be doing is we've got ASBK and World Superbikes at Phillip Island in 2 weeks' time, which is awesome because Phillip Island, iconic racetrack, World Superbikes are going to be there, so all the big names, and Australian Superbikes. You're going
everywhere around Australia, mate.
But no, this is something I really want to do for 2 reasons, because one of my best mates, Tony from Race Bike Services, he's crew chief and guy behind Nick Limonton's bike. So Nick Limonton's a young guy from South Australia. He's 18, 19, I think. He's an absolute gun, super nice kid, ride the crap out of a bike. Last year we went to Phillip Island with him. He just showed everyone what he was made of. So,
well, I don't get to Phillip Island, but I get to a different beach next weekend. Okay, and I don't.
Yes.
And I don't have Bathurst, and I don't have Phillip Island, and I don't have a race suit, and I don't get to be the jet-setting automotive enjoyment playboy that you are, the Australian automotive man of mystery. But I am going to the 2019 Selex Beach historic bike races.
Insert promo here.
A bunch of dudes riding pre-1930, whatever it is, bikes, 50 bikes on the sand at Selex. The track is 800 metres down, around a barrel, and 800 metres back. Right? Naming rights sponsor, gratuitous plug, Harley Davidson, are going to put this event on. And if you've ever been to Selex Beach, it's where they film all of the great Australian car adverts on the sand, you know, as they're driving along, the ones from the sort of 70s, 80s and 90s. And it's essentially like a salt lake, but a beach and a bit shorter. It's dead flat, it's hard. I'm going down as a commentator. And Mark, you know me, it's 2 days, right? Day one, it will be this voice. Do you want to give me an impression of what my voice is at the end of an event? Go on, give me an impression.
Something like a cheese grater going
go on, have a crack.
Along bricks.
Have a go. Go on, try and give me half a sentence with it. Go on.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Dogs like this.
Now, we need to get onto the topic of discussion tonight.
Go back to the place that caught fire. Use that as a segue.
Yeah, well, I mentioned GTRs before, so...
What's the name of the place? Give them another plug.
Custom Imports.
Well, let's drop the custom. Let's focus on the last word. Let's make topic of this.
Well, I mean, we'll say hi to Carly and Tom because they're awesome people, really hard-working couple, great business. They've done some really cool things. You may or may not have seen her as a learner driver in the, I think it's the Mobile or Caltex TV commercial.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
She's the flustered learner driver. It's awesome.
Wow.
She's only on for a second, but it's pretty cool.
And they were responsible for Submarine Car.
Yes, well, they were part of that.
The Ford Laser.
The Raka
that apparently,
girl, yeah.
According to the police, had no visible reason to be defected.
You know what? It was a hot day. It was a good idea.
It was outstanding.
So, anyway, import cars.
Import cars is a topic.
Have you owned one?
Have I owned one? Well, as I was saying to you a little bit earlier on, I have owned many import cars. Many import cars, all sorts of shapes and sizes, good ones, bad ones, ugly ones, some that pull the chicks, some that make the chicks run away screaming, and amazing stories because they've formed a lot of the framework of my life with cars, short of a few Chryslers and a couple of Holdens that were built here in Australia. Majority of my car history and my framework and rich tapestry has been of the import car variety. What about you?
So, yeah, but you haven't actually mentioned what you've owned.
Mark, in total, I've had 84 cars. 84.
84.
Right? And I've counted them. I've got a list of them at
I think
home.
I slowed down after about 50, but I've had a few bikes as well. So
yeah, well, that's not even half a car. That's like a trailer with
I had
a
a
motor.
Studebaker M16 truck, though, so that counts for about 20.
But it didn't run.
It's just, but it was still as cool.
So again,
patinaed rat rod
No, but
shell.
if it doesn't run, it's classified as a trailer. Right? It doesn't have an engine. It's a trailer. Right? Or yard art. Yard art. That's what it was.
That's what it is now.
Okay, so let's talk about my first import car. What was my first import car? A car, well, okay, my first import car was a Mark II Ford Escort Rally Pack 1600, fully imported. That's what that was.
Fully imported or Australian delivered?
No. It was Australian delivered, right? Like you bought it at a dealership, but it came in, was fully imported to Australia. Bright yellow, black stripe, 13-inch speedy wheels. It was a weapon.
Here's the thing. I've owned Japanese cars and international cars. I've had a Land Rover Discovery. I've had Mazdas, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I've never owned an actual imported car, like a car that came through as an import, not
Are you talking
Australian
private
delivered.
import?
Well, imported through a dealer or something like that, through an importer.
Okay.
And funnily enough, I've had all of those potential. I almost had a 180SX once. I was thinking about buying a Skyline once, but it was all the stuff I passed up, and I kind
That's hard.
Some you regret, some you don't.
Well, then there's two types of imports. There's what you call a domestic import, which is sold in Australia across a forecourt or a dealership, and then there's private imports, so limited numbers, quite rare to get hold of. So if we went domestic, what was your first domestic import car?
Domestic import. Oh, probably the first. I don't know. Oh, yeah. Hang on. My first car. My very first car.
Go.
A Mini.
Right.
Yeah. Mini 850.
Okay.
Yeah. Bought it for $40. It wasn't running.
All right. Ready. Three cars, really quickly.
It wasn't a trailer though, because I got it running.
3 cars, 3 imports. Go. Tell me what you had. 3.
Mazda B1600 Ute.
We turned it into a rotary.
Yep. Rotary Ute. The Mini.
Yep.
Heaps of them.
No.
Mitsubishi Sigma, Geminis, all sorts of stuff like that. Toyota Land Cruiser.
Mark II Cortina Lotus Replica. BJ 40 Land Cruiser I bought for $1,000 up in Flagstaff Hill. Cleaned it up, sold it to some sucker in WA for $5.5. Ka-ching.
Real estate agent.
$50 Datsun 1600 that I bought from Adelaide Fours and Rotaries. Ran perfect. Nothing wrong with it at all. Took it to Brown Hill Creek and did car jousting.
All right.
There you go. That's just 3. Is that all right?
I'm glad this is on YouTube now because I'm going to actually face palm right now.
What? Do you want quality ones?
Anyway, so
non-quality.
You know what I want to talk about though is I want to talk about import cars and import cars in general, but also rules and regulations and stuff like that. So
we need an expert.
Yes, and what's the show? Porn Stars.
Do we need a drum roll?
Yeah, no, hang on. He goes, hang on, I've got a buddy. He's an expert in that.
I've got a buddy here. Call an expert in.
Yeah, we'll call an expert in.
Bring him in.
Here he is.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining us for the first time, the one, the only, straight from Michael Knight Enterprises. Is that right? Did I say that right?
Michael Knight.
Close.
The Iron Chef, Kristian Appelt. Put your headphones on. Congratulations.
All right, I'm going to start this.
Hang on, wait a second. Before he does that, he gets a gift.
I'll get a gift.
We've got a gift for you, courtesy of the Hoonatics, the ceremonial green bush.
That's actually not a gift. He just stole that off the producer.
We have no budget.
Yeah,
right?
Japanese importer. Here's a bonsai tree. Yeah.
I figured that the furry top would make you feel well at home.
Oh well, it would give me something to put on. Put on the top.
He's wearing a hat because he just had his hair done.
For a reason. Yeah.
Go.
Okay, so before Jason runs the room out of oxygen. All right, so I've got here a couple of questions to get things rolling.
Yeah, sure.
All right, I know that you're a school teacher by trade.
Yes, ex school teacher.
Oh yeah, but that
reformed.
That was your thing. Yeah. So before what got you from being a school teacher into import cars?
Okay, so bear in mind we're going back nearly later on this year. It'll be 20 years ago.
The pre-Jurassic period.
Yeah.
We're all of that age now. Where 20 years ago is not a long time ago.
Like, so far away.
You know, it's.
Okay, so I was a teacher. I'd had enough, and we were ready for a bit of a change. And my wife and I went, let's move to Japan and teach English over there. So I went over teaching English. That was, and then with the idea that obviously I could bring cars back with me. That was the appeal.
So you can speak fluent Japanese?
I can. I used to be able to.
Yeah.
We gotta know. No, it's something that you lose very quickly unless you're living there. If you're not speaking it all the time, you lose it. But to answer your question, I went over and I was teaching for a couple of months, and then I went looking for a car. And went out with a guy who I'm actually good friends with still.
Hang on. Can I just see if I can pull the sands of time out of your head and give you a suggestion? Just you've got to suggest what sort of car.
Kristian will eventually finish his story.
No, but suggest what car he went and bought. He's over there. He's an English teacher from Australia in Japan. What would you buy?
A Nissan Cedric.
No, hang on. A Mazda MX-5.
I did buy 2 MX-5s. I bought 2 MX-5s.
You probably already know this story though.
I actually
you
had
went and did some research.
Yeah, I did. Sorry, I did. Yeah, well, you had hair back then.
I bought 4 cars actually. I bought that, and I bought 2 MX-5s. I bought a Unos Cosmo with a 20B. Twin turbo, and then I bought a Galant VR4, which is a V6.
I've got a theory why you bought it.
Was that a wagon? No, you had a sedan.
Yeah,
that's right.
And that was the only one in Australia. It was the first one. Into Australia.
But I got a theory why you bought the MX-5.
Why?
Because you had hair like Hugh Grant, and you would have had the top down, going like this in the wind, driving along.
I can tell you that one of the MX-5s was given to my father.
Did you clean it out? Did you clean it out before you gave it to him?
Part of the reason it was given to him, don't tease, part of the reason was he was actually driving a Ford Capri at the time.
This is going from bad to worse.
When I say Ford Capri, not the cool...
The Ford Mercury.
The Mercury Capri.
Yes.
Mercury. So the soft top that was made in Australia.
Fully imported.
As an ex-Ford mechanic, I know exactly what you're talking about. Apart from the Capri Club Sprint with the Momo steering wheel that got stolen every 5 minutes. Yeah,
they were very average. Anyway, so the idea was that we could upgrade him for not too much money. So that was
wow.
He got that one. My wife got the other one. I got the Galant and the...
I remember the Galant. There was a grey one.
Yeah, grey, purpley colour. Yeah.
So fast forward a little bit. Then I guess that was the start of it. Prior to what you're doing now,
yeah.
How many cars and how big had the business grown?
Well, the business. So the business started obviously as soon as I got into it. So I went out to an auction with a guy, and he said, "Oh, you know, you obviously seem to know a bit about cars. Do you want to start doing it?" Doing it as in exporting.
Those are
sending
famous
cars
last
to
words.
Australia.
You seem to know a bit.
Let's do it. Yeah. But he said, "You know, do you want to come and work for us?" And I said, "Yeah, that's fine." So I started working, and that's how it all started. But I came back. You know, we moved back to Australia, and then I was sort of doing it as a hobby, really, just for friends. And that was my original. That was sort of how the name came about, because that was based. This is going way back to the old Fast Wars.
Well, at the
forums.
time, it was a very popular TV show. And I remember having a chat about it and sitting with you at Eastern Creek at that newly built hotel, and you're ordering cars. And I go, "What are you doing? Come on, go down. It's time to go down for tea." And you're like, "No, I've got to get this car. I'm trying to buy this car. And I've got a customer that wants this one." And it's like a white Caldina with the freaking red stripes on the side of it. I've got to get this one.
You got a good memory.
Oh, yeah, I remember those days. I remember those days.
So ultimately, that was how it began. But it was a hobby, so I came back and I taught again back in Australia. I came back as a teacher, and I actually studied to become a school principal. And then, but the closer I got to it, the more I hated it. And
excuse me,
and at
Mr.
the same,
Appelt, drop my lunch.
I'm disciplining you, science teacher, for punching the student.
Dropping their lunch is the least of my problems as a teacher. Trust me, there's plenty of other things.
Can you imagine him in the car yard going to the new teacher that rocks up, "I'm sorry, you're not getting a position here. You're driving a HZ Holden. I'm sorry. Just keep on driving."
You could check the cars.
You know?
So,
looks like you could do with a new car.
I can help with that. I can help. No, so the business got busier, and in the end, it got to a point where I was earning more from the business than I was from teaching, and I just went, "Well, this is silly. Why am I teaching? I can go and do what I love," and that's when I got out and did it full time.
So, I mean, we don't have enough time to go through every single car you've owned, because you've obviously owned and imported a lot, but tell us about one particular car that you do still have.
The first one. Let's go with the first car.
What's the first car I owned?
Yeah.
The very first car I owned was a 1974 Mazda 1300 in Herschel orange.
Herschel orange?
Herschel orange.
Is that a bright orange, a mid-orange, or a eye-popper?
Sort of a burnt orange, but typical 70s.
I'm just going to deviate really quickly and just say I've always wanted the job as the paint namer.
Yeah.
For cars, houses, or whatever, because, I mean, just...
Name a paint after me.
What?
Idiot red.
Idiot red.
Yeah.
Big mouth red.
You know what yours would be?
Big mouth red. Yeah.
Monotone brown.
Nicely played. Well played.
Hang on, what about
well played.
There was actually a colour. Seriously, in the Mazda colour
Sunrise
range.
pink.
Oh, jeez.
You know, just I'm just going to pause for 1 second and go, being our first ever podcast.
Yeah.
I'm just checking over here and looking at our producer, Rory. There's no smoke coming out of the equipment, so everything seems to be going all right. He's smiling and nodding. Cool.
We're good.
He's happy green, isn't he?
All right, so first car, cool.
So first car was the Mazda 1300.
Now,
very quickly replaced by a Mazda RX-3.
Ooh, Mazda
sedan.
Man. Mazda Man.
That I paid $1,500 for.
May I challenge him with a quick question? Can I just challenge you with a very quick one? What was the car your father drove to hospital, your mum to hospital to have you in? What was that car been?
It was he had a Mini.
So
he had a Mini at the time. He had a Mini. But I think he had an Austin. It was an Austin A60.
So you were born taken to hospital in an import car?
Well, it was sold in Australia. But it was an import. It was from...
You are Captain Import, aren't you?
Yeah, of course.
You know, Minis did a lot of things for a small car, and I'm going to deviate and go back to myself for a second there, because I said my first car was a Mini.
Yeah.
My dad had one of the first 2 Minis in Australia as an import.
Yeah, right.
So in 1958, when they were brand new, my dad's not a car guy. He likes them, but he's not a car guy.
Yeah, I know.
But him and another guy, 10-pound POMs, well, 10 or whatever it costs plus your car, drove their Minis, brand new Mini 850s onto the boat.
Wow.
And came to Australia.
Wow,
that's
really?
Cool.
That's pretty significant, but it is. But back then it was just like we weren't importing cars or anything, and a Mini wasn't really a significant car. It was just a car back
Well,
then.
it didn't take up much space.
But, imagine if you could find that car again and be like, oh.
Worth a lot.
My mum had a HQ, a brand new blue HQ with a white roof in South Australia. An amazing car, beautiful car. But at the time, my dad was working for Metro Meats and came home. Mum was pregnant with me and so forth like that. Came home and Mum said, I've got to go to hospital. She went outside to hop in the HQ and couldn't. Had to hop in Dad's work car, and he's told me the story, to take her to hospital. Do you know what the work car was? Ford Transit dual axle van.
So you literally went to
A
the
meat
hospital.
mattress. Did
You
it
went
have
to
a
hospital in a meat wagon.
Did it have a mattress in the back?
It was a meat truck. It had hooks for carrying carcasses in the back.
Was she? Please tell me she wasn't. Sort of
No, she was sitting in the front.
Holding the swing.
No.
All right,
Okay.
enough about us.
All right.
More about you.
Let's go.
Okay.
Hit him with another question.
RX3, regrettable sale, obviously.
$1,000
well, every rotary I bought from there on in is a regrettable sale because.
There would have to be one you were glad to see the back of.
No, actually, I miss all of them. The first one I had was pretty rough.
When
It had no front bumper.
when they go down on a rotor, you sort of sit there and go, "Ugh, I can't just pull a head off this.
I have to say, I never once blew an engine.
Really? Not a seal? Never did a
In the
seal?
whole time. Yeah, the only time one did was on a dyno, and that was the people that built the motor then rebuilt it.
So that
for
was
me.
back when warranties were worth something.
Well, it was sort of a, please fix it, otherwise there's going to be trouble. So
You're always going to get the rotor haters. Like, I think the thing about me is I love V8s, I love rotaries, I love turbo 4s, 6s, everything. I love anything that makes noise and goes fast.
Yeah.
I've owned both and all. I've owned inline 6s, rotors, V8s. The rotor I had, my first one, was like a trading post for all the kids out there that don't know what that is. There was that thing made out of paper that we bought stuff
The
out
Thursday morning special.
of. Yep. First thing Thursday, grab it from the shop or the newsagent. I converted my whole rotor ute to rotary for $700. Engine, gearbox, oil cooler.
But hang on. But that's
Tail shaft.
He's the modern day Barra Turbo.
But here's the thing, that
Isn't
engine,
he?
I only blew it up because I ran it out of oil because it was smoky. It was my fault it blew up, not the engine's fault.
okay. Yeah.
He was testing reliability.
They really
would you
need
think
love.
that I had a rotary? Look at me. Would you think I've ever owned a
No.
Mazda rotary?
No, I think you'd go to Rotary Club though, as a real estate agent. Anyway, back to you, Kristian.
Hang on.
So regrettable.
You didn't ask me. You didn't ask my question. Do you think I owned a rotary?
No.
No.
Incorrect. How's that? I had a Series 3 Mazda Capella, and I had it when I was at RPM days. The only problem was it was a Series 3 RX2, but it had no engine. I bought one
So
without an
you
engine.
technically didn't have a
So
rotary.
yeah. Anyway.
So we're correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Thumbs down, Jason.
Yeah.
Tried hard on that one.
I'm so trying to be part of the cool club here.
Failed. All right. So rotaries.
Yes.
Now I'm trying to get past the fluff here with Jason.
All right.
White car. What do you own? And is it this?
It's an R34 Skyline Gtr. It's a very long name. Gtr V-Spec 2 N1.
Say that
So
twice. Go. Say it twice.
An R34 is the
No, say the whole
series.
thing. Go.
Nissan Skyline GTR V-Spec 2 N1.
Go again.
I've already said it twice.
An N1. You know what
No,
I'm getting you to
that's
say it
almost
twice?
The important part's the N1.
MGB GT V8. That's like,
I'm getting you to say it twice because it's the last bit that's the most special bit.
It's the N1, yes.
So it's a genuine N1.
Yes.
Because you're sitting there very complacent about it. That is a unicorn. That's a holy grail.
you know that Andy Samberg clip, the one, the jizz in my pants one?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of people at home listening right now going, ugh.
So how many are in Australia?
Actually, funnily enough, there are only 18 were made, and I know.
So hang on, 18 worldwide.
Yeah, 18 worldwide.
How many have been crashed before you tell us how many here?
I don't know. A couple have been crashed and repaired.
Okay.
Probably a lot less
They're
than
worth
Mustangs.
a bit. So, yeah,
Than new Mustangs.
Yeah, they're worth a bit. So they have to get prepared. But I think there are actually 3 in Australia.
Wow, 3.
So yeah, and a couple of others. So mine's a V-Spec 2. There are a few V-Spec N1s as well.
So this leads me on to what I was thinking of next is, it's interesting from my point of view. Like, I worked for Fast Fours magazine and AutoSol and stuff like that, so I got to see a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
And back then, as Australia was starting, there was that big boom of import cars. All that Parramatta Road and North East Road in Adelaide was just import yards everywhere.
90s? 90s?
Yeah,
late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, and it was like back then. I remember looking down the barrel of 30 grand to buy an R33 GDST. It was like, whoa, but back then
I remember 40. I remember 40,000, and 60,000 to buy a Sora. Toyota Sora.
Whoa, yeah.
So to put your comments
now
in
that
context,
you can buy for $1,500 just because you want the 1UZ out of it. Yeah.
Let's get some context around this, right? What happened was the VL Commodore came out as an RB30 and people went, what is that, right? And then suddenly out of that came the 32 Skyline, and suddenly in the early 90s it took off mental. It just went crazy.
But see, my point being though is that would you agree with me in the fact that with the import boom in Australia, back then we're all looking at Japan going, holy crap, look at the stuff these guys are doing. These cars are so fast, all these crazy, amazing cars. I mean, JGTC and stuff like that, that's next level because that's all racing. But you look at the sort of everyman and workshop level building of cars and stuff like that, and back then the Japanese were the be-all and end-all.
That was huge, yeah.
But now, I think the tables have turned somewhat. Yeah, they still build amazing stuff over there, but we are building some of the fastest, you only got to look at World Time Attack. It started off with the Cyber and what was the other one? The Cusco Evo.
The funny thing is, I mean, if you go back to
WRX, yeah.
If you go back to '92, I mean, when Scaife won and is it Gibson?
No.
Gibson Motorsport.
Yeah.
When they built that car, I mean those cars were Australian ingenuity has been in play right since they were first built. I mean, they were able to extract more out of the RB26 than the Japanese teams were. So what happened was, if you go back to 92, the Aussies wanted to go to Japan and compete, and Nismo said no because they were making so much more horsepower than they were actually worried that they were going to lose customers who were going to move across to Gibson to get their engines built.
Let's just put that into some context as well, because Australia was built on the venereal Holden Red 6. Right, that was the staple, and you had the Crossflow 250, and you had the Slant 6 and so forth, and the Hemi. Suddenly, a twin cam version came along because Waggett used to make a twin cam head for the Holden. Suddenly, Nissan is going, hey, look, here it all is. Aussie engineers and engine builders have kind of gone, we've been waiting for you, and welcomed it in, and in goes the boring and the porting, and suddenly Australia's at the top. It kind of doesn't really surprise you when you think about it on our history of what we know.
We've had a long history of
six cylinders.
The sad part for me though is you look at all the old Holden and Ford stuff, and it's really just derivatives of American stuff, just made in Australian style.
Yeah, but if
do you remember the old AAT? Do you remember the old AAT XF twin turbo?
Yeah.
They did a twin turbo
style
kit for the Ford Falcon XF.
Air Research, yeah.
That was a really cool setup. They actually made them all-wheel drive.
But just going back to your Scaife days and your RB30 days, if you take a small leap forward in time and introduce a name called Joe Signorelli in Gas Motorsport, what they're doing with 2J engines is the pinnacle of the world. And I think Australian engineering and the ability of Aussies to look at things like you did with your Rotor Ute, we fix anything with anything, right? We could make a big block Chev out of this pod booth if we wanted to, because we have the ability to think like that. And when we talk about the import cars, do you think that the days of building those huge engines and having that kudos, do you think that probably underlines some of the popularity of the Japanese cars right now, the older ones?
It does, but I think part of the issue is that in Australia they're a lot more popular here. In Japan, for example, if you go to Japan now, you will be struggling to see. If you stayed there for 2 weeks, you might see 2 or 3 GTRs, like
special occasion stuff,
RB powered GTRs outside of events. But just to see one driving on a street is quite rare now. Whereas here, I think certainly per capita, we've got more GTRs and Silvias and those sorts of cars. We've got more of those running now than they have left in Japan. They've all moved on. But the problem is now, post 2004, so the emissions changed in 2004, and a lot of those old motors, so the Evos disappeared. The Evos kept going for a little bit longer, but
Were they just sold out
a
to
lot
other
of those
countries?
cars, well, they just disappeared because they couldn't make the engines meet the new emissions rules. So a lot of cars like the 1JZ and the 2JZ, they all disappeared because they couldn't meet and the RBs, they couldn't meet the new regulations.
Okay.
So it then brought about an era of fairly average. So from 2004 onwards was a sort of a period of very average sports cars. I mean, apart from the Fairlady /370Z, which we get here, there were very few cars to get excited about in terms of sports cars. Certainly not rear-wheel drive ones.
Toyota Sportivo is pretty good.
Oh,
I don't even know what that is. Or want to know. I'm
it's
pretty
not
sure
a
I saw one of
sports-
those on a Camry.
it's not a sports car; it's a sporty car. There's a difference.
Well, let's talk.
So,
let's
yeah.
let's
It's
talk
scrap
about.
metal waiting to happen.
So just getting back. So the 86 came out, and all the tuners all jumped on them because they've been tuning all the old GTRs, and obviously they're getting older and older and older. And then the 86 came out, and so that was enough to everyone got excited
Feed
about
the
that.
beast.
And they're making turbo kits and stuff, and Toyota fed into that now, and the same thing will happen now with the Supra. The manufacturers will really be jumping.
But I
on
saw
this.
the first Supra sell at Meekham's. I saw what happened to the price of that car, right? And I can't help but think that the really good performance cars coming out of Japan, and we're orientating our discussion towards just Japan at the moment for import cars. We won't go any further than that, but I look at those cars and those good tuning, LFAs and Supras and stuff like that. It becomes the hunting ground of the rich and famous. The generic 1600 Datsun 1600 buyer is no longer around. You can't get anything performance orientated at that level.
But,
Maybe
the LFA's next level though. That's supercar
$1
million dollar sort of thing, and the Supra's always been kind of that achievable, not cheap but not expensive car.
yeah.
But that's a reflection of society too, because you've got society that's becoming the distribution of wealth is becoming less even.
Listen to this guy.
So I'm getting this is very big picture stuff.
It's business.
But the cars being built actually match, what's in demand. So if you have cars, that's why all the mega dollar cars now are being built, because there are more billionaires around to be able to buy them. And
Do you think in 40 years we'll look at the current Supra like we look at the 260Z?
I think we'll look at the current Supra probably.
You do?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be
well,
quite similar.
This leads me on to something I wanted to ask too, and sort of just about values of vehicles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We saw this zany, crazy supply and demand thing a couple of years back where all of a sudden Phase 3 Falcons were selling for like $1 million, and now you'd be struggling to find like a Monaro of any shape under $100,000. And I mean, it's good because it's like they are becoming more valuable. I mean, same in America, all these muscle cars just went up in value, and now we're seeing GTRs, FDRX7s, all that sort of go up in value. What are you? I mean, even like 930 turbo Porsches. Everyone's going.
every
I knew a
Porsche.
mate that had one of them or bought one.
Every old Porsche. Yeah.
Mark II Cortina rat rod that sold for $5,500.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Take the car. Give me your money.
They're all
quite-
going.
not quite a
They're all going
six-figure
back to
car,
the
but-
UK.
Yeah, I know, but
back to the UK.
But and that's the thing. So what I mean is, what do you think as far as what's the next car to have? What do you think will be?
In term for collectability, do you mean? Or
Yeah, like something that's a current car that's already out on the market. I mean, I know if you own an R32 GTR right now,
hang
you're
on.
a lucky man.
The car prices ebb and flow. So what you're asking in a question is, what car has reached the bottom of its flow, right? That you would buy now, knowing that it's going to come back.
And also, what do you think of like your current stuff, like your 34 GTRs and that are getting six figure? Are they going to keep going up, or do you think they've?
No, I don't think they've stopped. They might pause briefly, but they're not going to go down from here.
What's the buy? What's the one to get?
Okay,
now?
so everything comes down to supply and demand, right? So at the moment, the demand is coming from the US, and that's the real game changer, because the US has a 25-year rule, and as soon as cars hit 25 years, the guys from the US jump on them. Now they don't. Their market isn't quite as developed as ours, so we will look at weird stuff. We'll buy Safiros and things like that. Generally, they just like everything is GTR.
But they're two-door everything, aren't they? Really?
Yeah. Actually, the other car they love is the Pulsar GTI-R as well.
Wow.
Yeah, they've cleaned us out of most of ours.
Which is interesting
They've
because
gone over.
Europe was the great hunting ground for the all-wheel drive with the Audi Quattro, right? But realistically, Australia only ever got all-wheel drive through the Japanese import cars.
Yeah.
We didn't really have anything, and our appreciation is bred through import cars.
Yeah, the rally history and WRX.
But let's
you know, it's funny though, because in America right now, look, if you're on social media, it's like every second man's got some ClickFunnels website that he's spruiking all over that he's making $200 million a week out of. And they're all going to start buying all of our Barra engines as well.
Yeah, well, we'll get Jason Way in and talk about that one. I'm going to hit you with some questions, and you're going to tell us the cars to buy in this price guide.
Okay.
Okay. Sub $2,000. What would be an investment car? Sub $2,000.
Sub 2,000.
You're back in the old Thursday morning trading post.
A Swift GTI wouldn't be a bad buy. I reckon a Swift GTI.
What can I ask you? And I think this is my opinion. What about a Mazda 121 bubble?
No. Partly because they made too many of them.
Okay.
But also,
if you need a wheel chock for your monster truck, yep.
A quirky, different.
It eventually always comes down to supply and demand.
Yep.
So if there's demand there, and there's no demand for those.
Under 10 grand.
Under 10 grand, I would be looking, if you could find a clean S13 Silvia or maybe a 180SX, but really anything under 10,000 is going to be a bargain.
Unmodified?
That preferably unmodified.
Under 20 grand.
Under 20 grand, I would be looking at a Toyota Chaser JZX 100 manual.
There's a few of them kicking around.
JZX 100s are higher than the 110s that replace them.
Under 50 grand.
Under 50 grand, I'd be looking at a GTR, R32.
Okay, so here we go. Now, obviously,
or Supra.
You're looking at the ebb and flow.
Manual turbo.
If
Supra.
you had price no object right now to buy a Japanese import car that was available in Australia only, he'd have to buy it here, knowing that the prices were going north. Any age, chrome bumper, plastic bumper, whatever.
So Japanese car that has been sold in Australia.
No, available here.
Available
here.
Price.
You think about it because I'm going to ask you in a minute.
So price, no price.
No price. No price.
Oh, easy.
The price, no object. LFA.
LFA?
Ooh, same brand.
A Toyota 2000 GT.
And there's one here in Adelaide, isn't there?
Yes.
Boom, yeah.
Okay. I would probably buy a whole lot of Mazda 121s and corner the market.
Well, you can sell them. You can put them through auction and bid.
Unfoiling tube man.
You can put them through auction and bid against yourself and push the prices
I look at them and I see Fiat Bambino. That's what I see.
You know what? We'll just put a fence around Kangaroo Island and you can have the joint to yourself.
Do you know what? You laugh at
Rental
me.
cars.
You laugh at me, but we discussed this off air. Datsun 120Y. They were the biggest joke of the day. But what are they pulling now? What's a good one pulling now?
4,000 or 5,000.
Who would have ever thought?
Yeah, and you know what's weird is like a mutual friend of ours too, another Christian Oliver.
Yeah,
he's got the coolest 120Y around, and it's just set up as full Jap spec. It's fully engineered.
White one.
Yeah,
with the NA SR20 in it. That thing's ridiculous.
Super clean
nice
car.
Yeah, I know the
So
one.
before you go ridiculing my 121 dream, all right. And I know there's a red one just down the road.
I only know of one 121 which I would enjoy driving, and that is what's it called again? He'll kill me if I get this wrong. I think it was called Becky. Andy from Adaptronic in Sydney, turbocharged one.
They're all called Becky, aren't they?
Little torque steering monster. Yeah, he gave his cars girl names, which was kind of cool. So yeah, it was a little 121 bubble. He did it intentionally because it was a bit of a joke of a car, but it was fast.
Just follow me on this because there's method to my madness, right? I know I say some stupid stuff, but I got a 13-year-old son, and around the corner from us, about 4 or 5 houses, there is a red one sitting with. Remember, some of them came with 15-inch rims. They were the rare ones, the last ones made. It's bright red. It's got grey interior, right? I look at a 13-year-old kid, and if you hark back to when you were 13, right, let's say that was Datsun 1600 times, and your old man said to you, I'm going to buy you a Datsun 1600, put it in the shed, you would have gone, I don't want that. But now, well, Datsun 1600 station wagon.
Datsun 1600 is rear-wheel drive.
Yeah,
okay,
but
we're talking
two different. Like, if you send your son to school in his first car as a Mazda 121 bubble,
no.
His principal is going to ring up.
Never make it home.
An investment.
He's either going to come home with a black eye, Or his
Okay.
principal is
He'll
going to ring
never
up and
make it
say,
home.
Well, how about
Thomas hasn't been coming to school. We don't know why.
He's been parking around the corner and walking 3 kilometres.
Well, the car probably wouldn't make it, probably break down. But the reality of it is, an import car from Japan, from the UK, from America, if it's chrome bumper, it doesn't matter.
Oh,
if
chrome bumper. Yeah.
anything
Right.
chrome bumper, right? It's worth it. So then we transition towards the plastic bumper stuff, and that early plastic bumpy stuff, like the Toyota Corollas, the slant nose rear wheel drive stuff, the A86 style stuff.
Yeah.
That's worth its weight in gold.
A82 twin cam.
Oh,
They're a cool car.
Yeah,
and
they are.
getting few and far between, but they're still an Aussie delivered car. So we're on import cars here. I'm going to get back to the actual topic at hand here.
Oh,
Somehow we ended up talking about
Hijacked again.
frickin' jelly beans.
yeah. Hijacked again.
Kristian, you are the expert. We brought you in as the expert. Tell us about what's happening in this day and age. I know there's a hell of a lot of stuff to talk about, but what's the go with the laws at the moment? What can we and can't we do?
Well, there's probably not a lot of point talking about the current laws because they're all getting thrown out at the end of the year. So
What are we hoping to see?
Well, as of December this year, the laws are changing, and there will be some cars that will disappear. But mostly, you're talking about vans like the Nissan Elgrand and the Toyota Estima, which is more of a. It's designed the actual scheme is designed to be for specialist enthusiasts, and they sort of. The government's attitude was that the Elgrands don't really fit into.
It's not a bad attitude to take from their point of view, for us.
Well, it's not bad. Obviously, the more that it constricts what we can get, the harder it is for us to run businesses. We can't run businesses when we can't bring in things like Skylines and whatever as well. So,
but you are saying that Elgrands are going to be on the desirable car list in a few years' time.
No, I'm not saying that. I don't think that will ever happen.
Can I just write that down?
It's the 350Z wagon van. I mean,
they are a pretty cool thing.
Yeah,
they are, and they're rear-wheel drive too. If you buy an E51,
weren't the Tarago's four-wheel drive at some stage?
You can get four-wheel drive. Yes. Okay. Anyway,
got a family.
Hang on.
All right. So, yes. So come the end of the year, there are some new rules coming in. There'll be a few cars that will now be available that weren't in the past. So before, if a car was sold in Australia, you couldn't bring in any variant of it. So say it's an Subaru here sells the Impreza WRX, we can't bring in any of the STI variants. But now, under the new rules, we'll be able to bring in, as I understand it currently, or as the government is sort of saying it will be, we'd be able to bring in something like the Type RA and the Type R. Because those variants weren't sold in Australia.
Wow. Okay.
So there'll be and the Liberty STIs and that sort of stuff.
So there's a yin and a yang to these rules. So there's pleasure and pain.
Yeah. So there's and the really cool one. Actually, one of the really cool changes is that for top end cars. So I'm talking Bugatti Veyron, Pagani Zonda. Whatever else, Bugatti Chiron, McLaren P1. Those cars, for a lot of those cars, because they're rare, it doesn't make sense to bring in a car like that and try and convert it to right-hand drive if they're left-hand drive. So what they're saying now is that you can actually comply them left-hand drive, which is a bit of a game changer because up until now, all the states have said, look, the only left-hand drive cars we'll allow on the roads are classics.
Is the trade-off the import tax they get?
Well, yeah, they will make quite a lot of tax off those cars. So
they're seeing it from an income point of view.
Well, possibly. The states certainly will be. I mean, they'll look at it and say, well, if the federal government says it's okay, then we'll obviously allow these vehicles on the road. So, of course, and they'll collect a nice, stamp duty win along the way as well.
From a tax point of view, though, I mean, now that Mitsubishi, Ford, Holden, Toyota all gone.
Listen, yeah.
Yeah, we've got no manufacturing in Australia anymore. I think all we're making is wheelbarrows.
We are making Brabhams.
Yeah, well, massive amounts of them. But hey, cool car, Yeah. But
until it comes up
is that going to change what importers are paying on the tax on their cars to bring cars in?
No. So at the moment, the luxury car tax applies to give or take. It's around about $65,000 is the cut.
Yep.
So if you bring in a car and its value, its customs value is determined to be over that amount, you will pay 33 cents in every dollar over 65,000.
And that's anything new or old.
Yeah.
Yep.
So new or used, it doesn't matter. If the value, if they determine that the value was over 65,000, you'll pay that. So you can see that is going to be the big sticking point now, because if you buy a Veyron, you are going to pay probably maybe $500,000 in tax.
Yeah, wow.
So it's.
But then again, if you can afford a Veyron, $500,000 is just a weekend away, really, isn't it?
Well, but see, this is the funny thing, right? So sorry, Jason, I interrupt. If you go, the problem is, and this is, I have to write an article about this at some point. The problem is, if you go to an auction, say you go to an auction in the UK and you want to bid for a Veyron, and you've got a budget of $3 million, for example. Now, if your $3 million has to allow the taxes that go in it, you're bidding at maybe just over £1 million.
And the exchange rate too.
Okay, and the exchange rate. So you're bidding at £1 million. Now that car, you'll look at that and you go, well, there's no point in bidding on it because I can't actually bring that in on my budget, even though, and someone else might pay $2 million or £1.5 or £2 million for it overseas. And what it means is that we don't get any tax on it at all, because what happens is that if people want to buy them, they'll just leave them overseas. So it then defeats the purpose. There's no, a tax is only as useful as how hard people try to avoid it. Yeah. Right. So if you've got a situation where people are just saying, well, I want to own all these cars, but I'm not going to bring them into Australia.
So
then we're not getting any tax.
If the government actually listens and says, well, people aren't going to be bringing these in their droves, they're going to be bringing them in as enthusiast cars.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool because they will get some tax, but then we'll see more of these awesome cars here.
And on that note,
yes,
everything old is new again, because this is a story that I heard many, many years ago, back in the 80s. Okay? There's a car called Max Wedge, and it was in Running on Empty, and it's a Dodge Super B with a pointy nose and a big wing, an orange and black thing, now gone back to America. Guy bought it in California, covered it in grease and drove it around a building lot to cover it in dirt to make it look like crap before he presented it to customs and said, no, it's just a piece of junk. They bought it. He brought it in here. And, of course, it was in this movie, Running on Empty. It's now been sold back to America, and the House of Muscle featured it, that this right-hand drive car had come from Australia. And it was an avoidance of tax. It was purely. So to further to your comments, are we going to see people get creative in the way they bring cars in?
Oh, they've been doing that since taxes were invented. Unfortunately, that's the way it seems to work these days. But
okay.
But there are some. My theory is that you're better off having less tax and having everyone pay it. GST, for example, everyone pays GST. I mean, no one tries to avoid GST. It's 10%. You're not going to worry about it.
Yeah.
But 33% on every dollar over 65, people will try and find ways to avoid.
I want to throw another quick question at you. We're starting to get towards the end of time. Here we go. What is your most satisfying import job for a client? You think back to that one car and it sticks in your mind.
That's a good one.
And don't say Sam Conway, because he's famous enough.
The most satisfying one out of all the ones that I've done, I mean, I've had some incredible cars, and but one of the best ones I had was a customer who came to us. She had gone to court. She had a disabled son, and so she had bought a disability vehicle. It was for a wheelchair access, had a ramp up the back, and believe it or not, she had gone to a dealer in Sydney and had bought a car, and then found out the kilometres were wound back. The odometer had been tampered on a disability vehicle. Now this guy, we then found out how much they made. They made a huge amount of money on that car because of the discount with the government discounts and things like that. Now we were able to find her a car. I mean, she really got hosed. She really got hosed, and when she sold the car, she sold it for a huge loss. But as it turned out, we were able to buy her a car with the money that she had.
Okay.
So she didn't lose any further. And that, for me, I mean, I'm still friends with her to this day. So that was those sorts of things.
What sort of car was it?
It was a Toyota Alphard.
Oh yeah,
like
cool.
A people mover.
Yeah.
We have got so many questions we can ask you. I'd love to talk to you about your jaunts into the outback with 3-cylinder wagons and stuff like
ask him
this.
A quick question too about imported cars. What's the most awesome car you've imported?
Well, I can be biased and say my own. But we've had just recently. I mean, we've had a number of
this is going to
really
lead into
top shelf.
another question about what you're doing now. So,
Whoa, Michael Knight. Whoa.
One of the coolest cars we brought in recently was a customer had, because we're based in Japan as well, we can send our cars off, to get things done before they come over. And one of the cars that we had was a Nismo. A customer sent his car off to Nismo to get that fixed, and he, I won't even tell you the bill, but he changed the colour from silver to midnight purple.
Wow.
It's a full R2 engine and
wow.
conversion. It is an amazing car. If you look on the website, you'll see it.
GTR.
That car was GTRs.
When you get an itch with a car, a type of car, a brand of car, a make of car, when that itch gets you, it sometimes never leaves. And for that guy, he obviously said, I want that. And if I can't have it, I'm going to pay to have it.
And this is a shout out to our friend Shane Suter.
Yeah.
Who hasn't got a GTR at the moment, but he does have a GTR tattoo on his wrist. So
he does.
I hope he gets another one day.
He's got an itch. Yeah. I know he has.
But anyway, so getting back to, I know that in the past you've imported some really cool cars like pseudo supercars like Aston Martins and stuff like that. But you're doing something new now. Tell us about that.
Okay, so I have got a new job working for I've got a new job working for a company called Knight International. Knight International, they sell hypercars worldwide. So I am involved.
Hang on, just rewind back then. Explain to people, what is a hypercar? We've got supercars and muscle cars.
So a supercar is, if you imagine a supercar being something like a Lamborghini Murcielago or something similar to that, a hypercar sits above that. So you're talking cars that are well north of $1 million US.
Limited builds.
Limited builds, very, very high performance.
Yep.
And usually sitting in that echelon where it's sort of the next step above, where people they're sold to
what
people
an outstanding job
with VIP status. So,
but you cut your teeth in imports, right? From the minute you were born, you were involved with imports, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the way through, and this is the culmination. This would have to be rate as one of the highest import positions with cars around the world. Doing
it's pretty
this
crazy.
type of work.
And I mean, this could be a total this is your life sort of thing, because there's a lot more to Kristian and other stuff he's been up to. I mean, you mentioned he'd done the shitbox rally and stuff like that, but that's just one of the fun things. But this particular thing, so name me 5 hypercars, just so that people get an idea, so that when they're looking at this, we can either show them on YouTube.
That's the 121.
Idiot.
But no, so 5 hypercars. What is a hypercar? What models are we looking at?
Okay, well, the Mercedes AMG 1 is one. Literally one. The Aston Martin Valkyrie is coming out soon.
And
the McLaren
V12 and about 1 billion horsepower.
and 11,000 revs. The McLaren Senna. We're dealing with a few Sennas at the moment. We've got 3 in stock if anyone's after one. We've got 2 or 3 Bugatti Chirons available.
Just kicking around at the back.
So some of these haven't been built. We've actually got at the moment
You got the build options on them.
Yeah, so it's what they call a build slot. So for a car that's
Careful how you say that.
slot, yeah. It's for people who want to get a car that's limited edition and it's already sold out. They will often pay over the odds in order to get their space. Get their line and their spot on the line. So
now this is an international business, though. Like you're not based in Adelaide. You're now
global. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, where's the head office, though?
The head office is in Dubai.
Yep.
And
a few people with a bit of cash over there. Yep.
Yeah. So we've got a few sheikhs on our list. But it's a really interesting game because the psychology behind it is no different to if you're selling a cheap car. I mean, you've got people who want something really badly, and you can supply it, and it's just a matter of working out whether the money works. And a lot of times people won't care about the price at the top end. They just want to obtain something that's impossible to obtain. So and we give them access to that. And a lot of them, a lot of them are very keen to pay. They'll pay some pretty serious money.
It's not a one-way street though, because you will also receive a lot of low kilometre trade-ins, resales. Don't drive that anymore. Can you move that on for me? Make it available if you can get the right price, right? And then, some of your stock would come from that point of view.
Yeah.
And then it's just simple logistics. You'll never see the car. It'll be based in a castle in Scotland, and then it will go to South America.
Correct. I mean, we have a lot of the customers that come to us have collections, so very few people come to us. You're not going to put your money down on a. So, for example, at the moment we've got a Bugatti Devo. Now, a Devo, there are only 40 of those been made, and in Australian dollars, between the cost of the vehicle itself and the build slot premium that they have to pay, it's about 10.5 million Australian. So. But you can't swim in those waters without also having, a serious interest in cars. So a lot of these people will put cars away and they'll have collections, and then they'll come back to us and say, okay, well, I want to buy this Devo, but I've also got this here. Do you want to sell it? So it's a relationship thing.
Jason's deep in thought at the moment. You know what he's thinking? He's going, man, that's a lot of Mazda 121s.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
You know what it is?
You could buy every Mazda 121.
If I may simplify it, guys, I'm a real estate agent. So if I get a subject sale on a house, and somebody says, I've got 2 properties to sell and want to buy that one, it's no difference. It's a commodity you're selling. You're just lining the sale up and doing it correctly.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, you're passionate about it, and you've got to be very careful, because I know you for a long time. Mark's known you for a long time. And you can, as a car enthusiast, get overtly excited about even being in the presence of a car. And that's something that you'd obviously have to control through your negotiations and so forth as well.
So
age has tempered that somewhat, I have to say. I mean, you do learn after a while that your job is there. Your job is there to sell the cars. Your job is not to sit there and gawk at them. And I mean, it is nice. There are a lot of perks coming. I'll give you an example. My boss is good friends with Apollo. Do you know Apollo, the supercar? So made by Gumpert, and now it's owned by another a separate company. But they are producing a new model that's coming out. Well, they've just started producing a new model that's coming out. They want to release it officially. They've made a few test, pilot build cars. They want to. He says, "Oh, come to me with, let's go to Germany. We'll go and have a look at we'll video some of the." So if it happens, we'll have to team up.
I've got 2 passports. I'm ready to go.
Yeah. So
You still got the helmet. You can put the camera.
You know what's funny though? You said age thing, and I'm 42 this year, and it's like still, without sounding a bit crass, get a chubby over looking at a cool car. But it was funny. I went to Goodwood Festival of Speed with a mate 2 years ago, and we were walking around, and there's these supercars there, and I said to him, you know what? I must be getting old, because back when you're a kid and you're like a 16-year-old and you're like, oh man, I can't wait until I can afford one of them. And then now you look at it and you're like, oh man, owning a supercar would be such a pain in the ass, because first you got to buy it, but then there's the insurance cost and the upkeep, and if something breaks. There
was a coffee and cars down at Morphettville Racecourse recently, and a guy came in a blue car. Okay, and it was a petty blue Superbird. It's the only one in South Australia.
I know the one.
440, right? And the guy's nice as all heck. I've never seen one. Never seen a Superbird in real life, and they're very rare. The big wing cars. And my son was with me, and my older brother was with me, and I walked up to the guy, and unlike you two, I'm unashamedly excited when I get around a car I want to see. And I asked him for permission.
Oh yeah, but this is different. What I'm saying.
But I asked him for permission to lick his car. I will say it right now. I said, may I lick your car? I've never seen one.
And he said, go away.
You just spent the day licking windows
and
as
he
well.
He looked at me and he said, no, but I'll let you touch it. And you know what? I simply went like that because it was a realisation that car, of everything it achieved, and here was a 45-year-old from Adelaide, South Australia, in its presence. And I don't care. I'll challenge anybody to say it. Cars are very special. They're like mythical beasts.
But my point being is that in this day and age, it's like, whilst I haven't been financially successful in what I've done, I've had a lot of fun doing cool stuff. So,
pit lane at Bathurst.
But to own a supercar these days, my mentality says it's cool. Like everyone wants to have one, but to own a supercar, you kind of got to be able to afford too.
Yeah.
So you got to be able to afford that, but have enough money.
What do they say? If you've got to ask. It's
too much. Yeah.
There you go.
So getting back to that,
I was just going to say, there's a big thing about one-upmanship as well. I always have this vision that you can, as soon as you get you buy a Lamborghini Huracan or whatever, as soon as you see that and you see someone else driving something better than you, And this is a funny thing. One of the customers that came to us the other day was from the UAE, right? Now, he wanted to buy the Devo. And I said, oh, you know, I got chatting to him because he's only a young guy. I mean, I would be surprised if he was older than 35. And here he is dropping 10.5 million. He said, oh, you know, I'll just give me your account details and I'll pay it in one hit. And it didn't eventuate, by the way, but or hasn't yet. But I said to him, why are you getting a Devo? You know, are you interested in them? He said, well, my brother's got a Chiron. So basically,
it was too common.
Chiron was too common. This is sibling rivalry at a level that you have never seen before in your life. But this is the thing: you can own a Chiron, and someone is still going to top you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I mean, even down to I say down like crazy example. A really good mate of mine in Sydney's got an AMG GTS. Man, such a cool car. And I kind of said it was like an undercover supercar because you sort of...
They're a great car.
Yeah, they're a brilliant car, but you don't feel like you're in a Lamborghini because everyone's not looking at you. It's just a really nice car. But I was telling another mate, like just rambling on about this cool car my mate's got, and he's like, oh, why didn't he buy the GTR? And I'm like, well, it's a $350,000 car and it's awesome on all levels just because he didn't get the next one up. It's got.
Do you remember the scene from the movie Gone in 60 Seconds with Nicolas Cage? Yes. This is the one. The bloody wiener was driving this Ferrari. Now, if I was driving a 4Cam, you remember that one?
Yeah.
Where it was, you know, sometimes supercars become common. I must admit, you look in Adelaide now and there are Lambos around. And, you know, when you see one, they're still awesome, but the factor of is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Go to the Middle East and hang out there.
Yeah.
Now,
you'll completely lose it.
Now, another question I had too, and so all the details of the business you're working for now, we'll put that in the info of the podcast and the YouTube, so people can go check that out. So it's Night International.
Yeah, so the website's night.international.
Yeah, easy.
Why? It sounds like Michael Knight. You remember the guy in the truck with the grey hair? Hello, Michael.
The boss's name is Knight.
Yes, hello, Michael. Welcome back. I've got a
Knight
vision of your boss looking like that.
Yeah, no, it's not quite.
So, but as far as the Middle East goes, you've spent a little bit of time there now, and you see all these pictures of just discarded supercars covered in sand and stuff like that. Is that actually the case, or is that just somebody just happened to be there after a sandstorm's come through and somebody's car was parked in it?
No, that is genuine, and so it has to do with
owing money.
It has to do with owing money,
tax and stuff like that. And they drop and run, don't they?
It's actually better for them because
they'll go to jail.
Well, they can. This is a thing. Bankruptcy is very frowned upon, and you can actually end up with jail time.
So what's the?
So how do we go there? Just pick up some cheap, crappy G-Wagon, a car trailer, and then just go and pick them up.
It's very difficult.
Why? Why would it be like to say discharge the value of the car back to the government?
Well, for starters, they sell them through auction, so they don't.
They collect them, round them up.
Eventually, yeah. But a lot of them will just sit there forever. But they do put them back through auction.
So you can't just take it down and plate swap it and put it back on the road.
No, it's not really.
It's registered in an N13 Pulsar.
No.
121.
121s. But I mean, I get, you know, when we talk about getting excited over things, I can get just as excited about, you know, a really unusual rare car. I mean, I'm just trying to think. There was a Nissan March at All Japan Day last year, and that was supercharged and turbocharged. And they came out in the late 80s. Yeah, somewhere in the late 80s.
Cool,
and they're really rare. They're really, really rare. And so I get just as excited by that, things that I never see, as I do by seeing a Ferrari or, you know. But having said that, the LFA, we watched the LFA take off from All Japan Day a few years ago from the show, and that sticks with me as one of the most memorable moments. Just hearing
we went from 0 to 50 really quickly.
Well, yeah.
Do you rate that next to, say, maybe your burnout experience with me in an XR6?
You know what?
There are some things best not discussed.
This is a quick question before we run out of time. Getting back to
I've never seen anyone getting so mechanically unsympathetic to a rental car in my life. Anyway,
getting back to the import regs and rules and stuff like that, because odd cars out of Japan.
Yeah.
One of my favourite ever cars, and you probably snigger at this, Jason probably doesn't know what I'm talking about, is a Pajero Mini.
Yeah, another one. Yeah.
Are we ever going to be able to get K cars in the country?
Yes.
That's one I didn't know about.
In fact, the Pajero Mini, when did they come out? They would have been maybe late 90s.
Just could explain it. Fill me in. It's a car I don't know about.
It literally looks like a Pajero that's been shrunk in the wash.
Yeah, it's like, you know, when you used to get
here? Like the little Pajero
No,
EOs?
the Pajero. There was the Pajero. There was the Pajero
EO was an
EO.
Aussie one, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, the one that we got here. There was a Pajero Junior.
Right.
And then there was a Pajero Mini. So there were 4 different types of Pajeros.
I'm going
He's
straight to
Googling.
our major
Googling.
resource.
You know what, though?
department.
You're going to load that up and you're going to see just a picture of Pajero, because you won't fathom
Pajero
that
Mini.
it's small.
If I spell it Spanish, Pajero Mini, I could be in trouble.
Yes, no, you may end up on
a Suzuki Sierra, but
watch list.
or a Pajero the size of a Suzuki Sierra, or maybe even a shade smaller.
Really? I've never
Yeah,
seen
tiny.
that.
Very cool. Oh,
Tiny little thing.
Some of the K cars.
K cars are all eligible under the new rules.
Oh, get out of here. Look at that.
Yeah, and just think how many K cars we can jam into a 40-foot container.
Well, this is the idea.
Put 'em in
This
sideways.
is why I like the whole idea of those little K trucks. You know, the Utes. So
Outstanding. You know what? I could see 3 of these in an Outback Odyssey, the 3 of us. You know,
Hang on, just so that Jason knows.
Italian job style.
Jason's hatching a plan.
Jason's about 110 kilos. What engine's in the Pajero Mini?
660.
660. So it's usually made for like 4-foot tall Japanese ladies to take their kids to school.
That's a Japanese Austin A30.
Well, pretty much, yeah. And
Is it
probably
four-wheel
about
drive
as
or
fast.
front-wheel drive?
No, they're four-wheel drive.
Get out of here.
They do a four-wheel drive version.
I would so own one of them just because they're cool.
That's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I did own a Suzuki LJ50 3-cylinder 2-stroke that I drove
Very impressive.
from the Brighton boat ramp all the way through to Glenelg illegally one night at about 3 o'clock in the morning with some drunken friends in. And small cars are brilliant fun. Even if you're a 1 ton of fun like me, they are. And I think we've all had one. But
well, I think we should start to wrap up.
Should we?
Well, we could go on for hours. We're just car guys. And we've got more podcasts to come.
There's
we can
plenty
get
to
Kristian
come.
back in the future.
We get plenty to come.
We might even do a podcast and find out when he's in the Middle East next and actually do a live stream.
bring
with
him in.
Yeah.
We can do that. So
I may be going to Geneva next month, so we'll see.
Oh, just going
if we
to
go,
Geneva.
I'll do something from there.
Yeah, nice.
All right. There is a press day on, so if I go, we're still touch and go. It depends on one of my clients.
Are you taking your expensive leather driving gloves with?
I can.
If we give you a Hoonatic sticker, can you get it on the Devo?
Not without being arrested, no.
I'm trying hard here, man. I'm trying hard.
Yeah.
All right, so Jason, what's next for you?
What's next for me? I'll tell you what, I've got a couple of episodes of O2 Garage to round up and get sorted out. That's going on. I've got the, obviously, Selex Beach bike racing next weekend. That's going on. My son has never been to a full-on burnout competition, and there's one on at the end of March. So he doesn't realise it, but it's his birthday in a couple of days, so I've actually got him some VIP experience. So he's going to go along to that. More auctions of houses and first call, second call, all that sort of garbage. So I've got a bit of that going on, and just going to keep living the dream as a middle-aged, fat Australian man. Mark?
Well, like I said, I'm going to World Superbikes ASBK, and then we've got, the artist formerly known as Clipsal, the Superloop here in Adelaide, and then some other supercar stuff. But keeping my options open, hoping to go to Japan and the US this year at some stage. But when that happens, I'll let you know. So, Kristian, it's been awesome having you in here, mate.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'll be sure to make good use of that.
No,
plastic.
you don't actually get it. This is Rory's.
It's
just for the sake of the show, you
It's
get it.
probably not even real.
It's
it might
not
be.
actually.
No, it's plastic.
No, it is plastic. It's still got the price on it. $9.95 from IKEA.
There you go.
Not bad.
Oh, that's good.
You're guest number 1. I hope you enjoyed the show.
Thank you. I feel very privileged.
Spread the good word.
Yeah.
We're going to hear from you when you're overseas. Mark, we've got lots lined up in the coming episodes, and some very exciting people to talk to. But I think Kristian will be a return campaigner.
And for the viewers / listeners out there, feedback. Give us your feedback. Are we talking a lot of crap? What do you want to hear more of? What do you want to hear less of?
Send us T-shirts. If you want us to wear T-shirts and hats, we'll wear them for you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I got my Star Wars one.
Yeah. George Lucas sent it just before he left. But yeah, let us know what you want to hear. I mean, this is new to us as much as it is to you. So, we've been listening to other podcasts and having to see what other people do, and it's we're not trying to copy anyone. We're just doing our own thing and having a bit of fun with it, and that's the whole point of this. So
I think we should have a whole podcast about the Holden Commodore, or was it the Magna, where you took the centre drink cup holder out and you could put the iced coffee in the square bit. I don't know, I have to investigate that. It might be another podcast further down.
I might be sick that night.
Yeah. I'm sure you get both listeners will be very excited.
Sam Conway will come in.
He will listen from overseas.
All right, so until next time, I'll leave the big buffoon with the radio voice to throw the closer here.
And he'll have a lot less hair when you see him next time. No.
Get in, buckle up, and come for a ride with the HoonTV. Cars, bikes, and anything else with an engine in it. Let's go.